Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Kampir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight is about the Kolkata hospital horror. On Gravitas tonight, we ask, has politics hijacked the core issue, the key cause, that is justice for the victim and the issue of safety of women? We focus on these questions and more as we dissect the developments. Here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. What is Volodymyr Zelensky's peace formula? Will Kiev accept new borders? And what's the latest from on the ground? We decode this and more. Why are Indian students in Canada protesting? We tell you all about their demands. Reports say that the Y chromosome, which is a crucial determinant of the male sex, is shrinking at an alarming rate. What does that mean? We tell you all that you need to know. All this and more coming up. Our top story is from India. People across the country have been outraged for weeks over the heinous rape and murder of a 31-year-old trainee doctor. There have been protests, there have been arrests, there have been firings. There has been a lot of politics as well, and even a case of gun shooting. Yet, amid all this, one crucial issue is it being neglected. The issue of justice for the victim. Because all we are seeing is talk of justice. What we see is a war of words. What we see is politicians hijacking the case for their political agenda. Remember, a 31-year-old trainee doctor's life was snatched away. She was raped and murdered. It's been nearly 20 days since the incident came to light, triggering protests across the country. The anger has been boiling over. Yet today, the politics around the case has become the headline. 3 people were arrested in West Bengal after the BJP leader Priyanku Pandey's car was fired upon, with Pandey claiming that workers of the ruling party, the TMC, attacked and fired on his car, as per reports. The attackers allegedly fired 7 rounds at the car in the presence of the police. 2 people were injured. One among them is serious. But it does not stop there. Pandey alleged that bombs were also thrown at his car. What did the police have to say? The West Bengal police has dismissed the allegations, saying that the driver did not sustain any bullet injuries. As part of the partial shutdown that was announced in the state today, the BJP workers blocked trains, shut down markets. They marched on the streets with a mission, appealing the shopkeepers and the market vendors to close their establishments in support of the Bengal Bandh. The TMC was also not far behind, countering the BJP's attack. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee questioned the progress in the CBI's investigation into the sensitive case. She demanded, where is justice? In fact, addressing a public event to mark the foundation day of the Trinamool Congress's students' wing, Banerjee said that the state government will call for an assembly session and introduce a bill demanding death penalty for rapists. The TMC has directly challenged the central government. The TMC has warned that if the central government fails to bring in a time-bound legislation pertaining to crimes against women, the party will lead protests in Delhi. You see the ruling Trinamool Congress and the opposition, the BJP, have fired barbs at each other, trading claims about the efficacy of the CBI vis-a-vis the state police. This after the CBI was directed to take over the case by the High Court. The CBI is yet to make any arrest in this case. Only one arrest has been made in connection with the case, a police civic volunteer called Sanjoy Roy. So you see, the case has been completely hijacked by political parties as of now, and that's exactly what the protesters earlier did not want. From day one, the protesters have demanded justice for the trainee doctor and a better law and order situation. Now, reports say that political parties have played an active role in pushing their agenda. As days progressed, multiple political parties positioned themselves at the forefront of the protests. The question is, where were they before? What is their contribution? What have they done to ensure that the streets are safe for women? What have they done to ensure a faster delivery of justice? You see, despite all the talk and the political agendas, the core issue is that of women's safety. The need for justice for the victim seems to have been overshadowed. It's time to focus on what truly matters: justice for the victim and safety of women. Can those in power rise above personal politics and ensure justice for the 31-year-old doctor? Our top story, the other top story, is about the Russia-Ukraine war. The war has taken a new turn this month. It started with Ukraine surprising Russia by bringing the war to Russian territory in Kursk. This left Russia in a way struggling to protect its own territory and triggered questions about what Kiev actually hopes to achieve from the assault. At first, Ukraine said that the goal was to catch Russia off guard. And then Kiev said the aim was to stretch Russia's resources. Amid all this, Ukraine's Kursk operation seemed like an admirable but risky gamble. Today, for the first time, Ukraine has officially admitted the end goal in Kursk. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the incursion into Russia was the first part of Kiev's victory plan. A victory plan. He intends to present this to US President Joe Biden when he meets him in September. What does this victory plan entail, you ask? Here's what we know. Zelensky has outlined 4 different parts of the plan. He says one of the areas where work has been done is the region of Kursk. The second part of the plan involves Ukraine's strategic place in the world's security infrastructure. The third part of the plan is a powerful package to force Russia to end the war. How exactly? Through diplomatic means, of course. Lastly, the fourth part of the plan is economic. What does that include? We don't know. He won't tell. Of course, buoyed by the success of the Kursk operation, Zelensky highlighted how the surprise incursion led to the withdrawal of Russian troops from eastern Ukraine. That is what Zelensky claims. But did the Russians withdraw? Not really. Russia has advanced in its ongoing plot to fully occupy the eastern Donbas region of Ukraine, but Zelensky claims that the Kursk incursion helped prevent the potential occupation of parts of Kharkiv, Sumy and Chernihiv regions. Regardless of the claims and the counterclaims, Ukraine's Kursk incursion, which is part of Zelensky's victory plan, has now become a focus of concern for the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA. Its Director General, Rafael Grossi, fears a nuclear accident here. He says that the nuclear power plant is vulnerable due to a lack of protective dome that could shield it from missiles, drones or artillery.
In Kursk Oblast, in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in Sochi, in Kiev, in Buenos Aires, in New York is the same. No nuclear accident. This cannot happen, and this is why the IAEA will always be there.
Grossi visited the nuclear power plant in Kursk at the invitation of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. He expressed his concerns after assessing the situation on the ground. Yet, the situation on the ground remained dangerous. You see, just a day after the IAEA chief inspected the site, Russia claimed to have defused unexploded munitions fired by Ukraine near the nuclear power plant. Russia said that its forces defused unexploded American-supplied munitions fired by Ukraine, which Russia shot down just 5 kilometers from Russia's Kursk nuclear plant. The announcement was made by Russia's National Guard. It was accompanied by a video of the unexploded munitions. Rosgvardia, which is Russia's National Guard, has said in a statement that its sappers had found a shell from a US-supplied HIMARS 5 kilometers from the power plant. They also found a rocket fragment, which they said was stuffed with 180 unexploded munitions.
The munition disposal group arrived to the site. They launched a drone and observed the area. They discovered a HIMARS missile. They inspected the object and discovered the cluster submunitions. 183 submunitions have been discovered. They have been destroyed by detonation of the overhead charge. No faults have happened.
You see, ever since the Ukrainian forces punched through Russia's border into Kursk region on the 6th of August, fighting has escalated. It is taking place just within 40 kilometers of the nuclear facility.
The results of specific attacks were presented, and there is no ambiguity about who carried out these strikes and where those came from.
Ukraine is yet to comment on Russia's allegations, but the same day, a Ukrainian drone attack sparked a fire at an oil depot in Russia's Kamensky district. No casualties were reported, and once again, there was no immediate comment from Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry said its air defense units destroyed 4 drones over the region overnight. Videos posted on Russian social media showed what looked like large tanks ablaze at night. Of course, this is not the first time that a fuel depot has been attacked. In early August as well, a fuel storage depot was attacked. You see, in a war, attacks on the enemy's logistics to undermine their war efforts. But this response from Ukraine seems to have been triggered after Russia launched missile and drone attacks, targeting scores of Ukrainian regions and killing at least 6 people on Tuesday. President Zelensky had vowed to retaliate against Russia. A day before, he had asked allies to consider joint air defense operations and the provision of long-range capabilities. Ukraine has lobbied for months to use long-range Western weapons against targets deep inside Russia. Kiev wants to launch the missiles at Russia's heartland as demonstration attacks, yet Ukraine's demands for Western permission to strike deeper into Russia raises several crucial questions, chief among them being, how does Ukraine plan to force Russia to end the war? While Ukraine has been able to put up a fight in Russian territory that it has raided, its own territory, especially Pokrovsk, is facing near capture. Ukrainian military's Kursk region incursion was a high-stakes gambit aimed at forcing Russia to divert troops from Ukraine's eastern front line. But you see, that did not stop Moscow from advancing in Ukraine. Even Ukraine's top commander has admitted this. On Tuesday, Ukrainian Colonel General Alexander Syrsky said that Russian troops did not take the bait and instead concentrated its most combat-ready units near Pokrovsk. Ultimately, can peace be achieved in Ukraine with neither Ukraine nor Russia standing down? Can they be brought to the talking table? Behind the scenes, there have been discussions among Western allies about initiating talks. However, these discussions were muffled after Ukraine's incursion in Kursk to placate allies. Zelensky has been promoting the Kursk incident as a catalyst for negotiations, claiming that Ukraine's actions are strengthening Kiev's push for peace talks. But is Ukraine genuinely committed to this, is the question. The broader picture suggests otherwise. Putin will likely insist on keeping the 4 Ukrainian regions he has declared part of the Russian Federation, along with Crimea, that was annexed in 2014. And remember, Zelensky and his top aides have stated that they will not give up territory for peace. Zelensky is also unwilling to make significant concessions. What is on the minds of the two leaders? We will never know. What we do know is that there is neither exhaustion nor a desire, the two things needed for successful peace talks. So then, will Zelensky accept the new borders to end the war? We will have to wait and watch for that answer. But while the world's attention has been on the battle for Kursk, Russian forces have quietly made significant tactical advances in Ukraine's Pokrovsk. We told you about this earlier, but what is it that Russia really wants from Pokrovsk? Why is Pokrovsk so crucial? Why has this Ukrainian city become such a crucial flashpoint? Before I tell you that, here's what you need to know. Russian forces have advanced over 2 kilometers from their last confirmed position into northwestern Novorodivka. It is situated southeast of Pokrovsk. The Russians are closing in on the strategically important city. It is located in the eastern Donetsk region. It is a road and rail hub and a city with a pre-war population of 60,000 people, tens of thousands of whom remain, even as many evacuate. Now, here's why it's important for Ukraine. The city lies on a key road used by the Ukrainian military to basically supply other embattled Ukrainian-held outposts like the towns of Chazivyar and Kostian, Tenivka in the Donetsk region. A coal mine, that is Ukraine's largest producer of coking oil, which is used in its steel industry and was vital for its pre-war economy, is only a 20-minute drive to the west. Since 2014, when Ukraine lost control of the regional capital, the city of Donetsk, Pokrovsk has hosted an important technical university. As for why Russia really wants Pokrovsk, Moscow says it has annexed Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, a claim that Kiev, of course, rejects as illegal. For Russia, taking control of Pokrovsk is an important stepping stone to incorporating the entire region into Russia. Control of the city, which the Russian media call the gateway to Donetsk, would basically allow Moscow to severely disrupt Ukrainian supply lines along the eastern front. So how is Ukraine defending Pokrovsk? It is struggling. President Zelensky has warned that the situation near Pokrovsk is difficult. Ukraine has decided to further strengthen its forces in Pokrovsk, even as it fights the Russian forces in the high-stakes Battle of Kursk. But Ukrainians are facing the heaviest wave of Russian assaults in Pokrovsk. As for the remaining residents of Pokrovsk, life has become difficult. The Ukrainian flag continues to fly over Pokrovsk. Some residents continue to evacuate westwards by rail and road, but others try to go about their daily lives and are reluctant to leave. Many buildings had their windows boarded up, including the Donetsk National Technical University, whose steps are now covered in rubble and debris. Other buildings had their windows blown out and their roofs, balconies and facades badly damaged. Power and water has long been cut. What remains is a picture of a Ukrainian city battered by war, much like the cities elsewhere in the country. A day after the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency visited the Russian nuclear plant in Kursk region, Moscow has said that it wanted the nuclear watchdog to take a more objective and clearer stance on nuclear safety. Russia, in fact, has been accusing Ukraine of trying to attack the nuclear plant. Our next report getting you more details.
UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi said Russia's Kursk power plant is at risk of a nuclear accident. That's while a frontline battle rages in the Kursk region, a mere 25 miles from the plant.
When a plant is operating, the temperature is much higher, and if there was the case of an impact or something that could affect it, there would be serious consequences.
Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, gave his warning on Tuesday after an inspection.
This nuclear power plant is of the RBMK type, which basically means that it does not have the containment dome and protective structure that is typical to most of the more current nuclear power plants. What does this mean? This means that the core of the reactor containing nuclear material is protected just by a normal roof. This makes it extremely exposed.
President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine last week of trying to attack the Kursk plant. That's after Ukrainian troops carved out a portion of Russian territory this month. Ukraine has yet to respond to the accusations that it attacked the facility. The safety of nuclear power plants has repeatedly been endangered over the course of the Ukraine war. Conflict began in February 2022, when Russia sent thousands of troops over the border into Ukraine. Moscow and Kyiv have repeatedly blamed each other for drone and artillery attacks on the Russian-controlled Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine. However, the recent incursion by Ukrainian forces into Russia has put the spotlight on the Kursk plant. It has 4 reactors of the same design as those at the Chernobyl nuclear plant, scene of the world's worst civilian nuclear disaster in 1986. Grossi also visited a school in the region, close to the Kursk nuclear power plant. A Reuters reporter heard air raid sirens blaring, indicating a missile threat, moments before Grossi arrived. Grossi has repeatedly warned of a nuclear disaster if nuclear plants are attacked.
Shifting focus for now to West Asia. Early Wednesday morning, a large-scale Israeli military operation in the West Bank resulted in the deaths of at least 11 Palestinians. According to reports, this operation is the largest offensive in the West Bank since 2002 and comes at a time when the war in Gaza is approaching its 1-year mark. Let's break this down for you. Israeli forces launched their assault on several key areas in northern West Bank, specifically targeting Jenin, Tobas, Nablus and Tulkarem. As per reports, it was a coordinated assault involving soldiers, aircraft, drones and bulldozers. Reportedly, 4 people were killed in a refugee camp in Tobas, 3 in a drone strike on a vehicle near Jenin and 2 more in Jenin itself.
Around 2 a.m., the army raided the refugee camp with a large number of soldiers on foot. They raided the camp from different sides. We were surprised. There were strikes in that area and 4 people were killed and around 10 injured.
The areas targeted in this operation are home to more than 80,000 Palestinians. In a statement, the Israel military attributed the attacks as a counter-terrorism operation. In a statement on social media, the IDF stated that it has also arrested suspects in Jenin and Tulkarem and confiscated explosives planted under roads near a refugee camp. Israeli Minister of Foreign Affairs, in a post on X in Hebrew, called for the evacuation of Palestinians from the West Bank. He stated that Israel must address the threat in the West Bank as it has been doing in Gaza, including the temporary evacuation of Palestinian residents and taking whatever other steps are necessary. That is what he claimed. Further writing, and I'm quoting, "This is a war for everything and we must win it," quote unquote. Such language underscores the severity of the situation and suggests that Israel is preparing for more such operations, reportedly. As the reports also say, the frequency of raids on the West Bank has tripled since the Gaza war started last October. Reportedly, Jenin, a city of around 39,000 people, has been entirely sealed off by the Israeli forces. Reports in Israeli media state that IDF soldiers had surrounded hospitals in Tulkarem and Tubas as well. Citing military sources, they further stated that this operation could continue for several days, which means the death toll could rise, as the cities and villages under attack are densely populated with Palestinian civilians. In Jenin and Tulkarem, smoke and fire billowed into the sky as the IDF carried out the operation. Meanwhile, in Tulkarem, Israeli forces could be seen using bulldozers to dig up streets, and widespread damage was reported in Bur Shams as well. In the Jordan Valley, IDF soldiers could be seen arresting a man outside a refugee camp. The Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, who was in Saudi Arabia at the time, reportedly has cut his trip short to return to the West Bank amid the ongoing Israeli military operations. And as the situation in the West Bank continues to unfold, what lies ahead? We will keep a close eye on the latest. Let's now talk about what's happening in Canada. Around 70,000 international graduates there are reportedly facing the prospect of deportation due to new changes in the immigration policy. Canadian provinces like British Columbia, Ontario, Manitoba, Prince Edward Island reportedly witnessed protests by Indian students. What lies at the heart of this crisis is the recent policy change that slashed permanent residency nominations by 25%, leaving many students in a rather precarious situation. You see, the Canadian government, recognizing the economic benefits brought by these students, allowed the influx to continue, but now the Canadian government reportedly is facing backlash domestically as the system is crippling under the weight of this growth. As per reports, the Indian population in Canada surged from around 670,000 in 2000 to over 1 million by 2020. Reportedly, the arrival of people from across the world has put unprecedented pressure on Canada's housing, healthcare, and other essential services. In response to mounting public discontent over these strains, the Trudeau administration has imposed a 2-year cap on the number of new study permits. This cap is expected to limit approvals to about 360,000 permits in 2024, a 35% drop from 2023. Furthermore, Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced a ban on flag polling, the practice where temporary residents exit and re-enter Canada to hasten permit applications, impacting the students' ability to secure post-graduation work permits. You see, these permits are extremely important, especially for international students, for getting employment and eventually permanent residency. Additionally, the Trudeau administration has announced a reduction in temporary foreign workers employed in low-wage jobs. Employers are now restricted to hiring just 10% of their workforce through temporary foreign workers, barring a few exceptions in sectors like agriculture, food processing, construction, healthcare. Furthermore, the maximum employment duration for these workers will be cut from 2 years to just 12 months. As per reports, India is the second largest contributor of temporary foreign workers to Canada after Mexico, providing more than 26,000 such workers last year. With Canada's population exceeding 41 million in early 2024, the stakes for these workers are higher than ever. International students who initially envisioned a new life in Canada are now rallying against these restrictive measures, demanding that the government extend postgraduate work permits, streamline pathways to permanent residency, and address systemic exploitation issues. The reductions prompted significant protests from Indian students, with demonstrations ongoing for over 110 days in some parts of Canada. Reports say that many students and temporary workers who have integrated into the Canadian society and contributed economically argue that the current system does not meet the needs of the thousands of qualified candidates left in limbo. In Brampton, Ontario, discontent has sparked protests against the notion that international students are responsible for local housing and job shortages. In Manitoba, students and workers are concerned about the expiration of work permits. While in British Columbia, they are pressing the Canadian government to expedite immigration application processing as they are at the risk of deportation. And as the protests continue, the Canadian government faces mounting pressure to address the concerns of international students and temporary foreign workers, along with the growing pressures domestically. Days after a horrific terror attack killed hundreds in Burkina Faso, a Swiss citizen working on a US-funded aid project has been arrested. Burkina Faso, remember, has experienced 2 coups in recent years as relations between the authorities and the Western powers have grown increasingly strained. What's behind the arrest? What was the motive? What's happening on the ground? Here's what we know so far.
2 days after hundreds were killed and injured in a terror attack in Burkina Faso, a Swiss citizen working on a US-funded aid project has been arrested. The news came from the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs in Switzerland. But the motive for the arrest of the Swiss citizen was not clear. According to reports, the Swiss citizen was working on a US-funded aid project in Niger and Burkina Faso as the chief of party for the US-based non-profit called WION International. The organization works on water security and resilience in Burkina Faso and Niger. The Swiss citizen was first detained in Niger alongside a British citizen. Both were released. The Swiss citizen then traveled to Burkina Faso, where he was arrested and detained. As per Reuters, WION did not respond to requests for comments. Burkina Faso, located in the sub-Saharan region known as the Sahel, has experienced 2 coups in recent years. As a result, relations between the authorities and Western powers have grown increasingly strained. On Monday, Denmark said it was closing embassies in Mali and Burkina Faso. This followed Mali's move to expel Sweden's ambassador earlier this month. Following a diplomatic dispute, the arrest of the Swiss citizen comes 2 days after hundreds were killed in north-central Burkina Faso. Suspected jihadists opened fire on the citizens as they were digging trenches around the town to protect it from attacks. The attack outside the town of Barça Logo is one of the deadliest since the groups linked to the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State moved into Burkina Faso from neighboring Mali almost a decade ago. Burkina Faso's army is currently fighting this jihadist insurgency that has plunged the Sahel nation into a security crisis that contributed to 2 coups in 2022. The ruling junta has condemned the violence, but did not say how many people were killed. According to reports, the death toll from the attack is likely higher than 500. Burkina's junta, which seized power in a 2022 coup, is accused of suppressing dissent by kidnapping and conscripting critics and urging citizens to report suspicious neighbors in the name of national security. On Saturday, hundreds of wounded people were evacuated to healthcare facilities in the city of Kaya, which is around 40 kilometers south. According to reports, Burkina Faso troops had forced reluctant residents of Barça to stop their daily activities and dig trenches. According to reports, Burkina Faso troops had forced reluctant residents of Barça to stop their daily activities and dig trenches around the town to deter insurgents. Hundreds were at work outside when suspected jihadis attacked.
Moving on for now, in its latest testing spree, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test firing of an upgraded 240mm rocket launcher system on Wednesday. The North Korean state media stated that the newly tested system proved its superiority in mobility and strike concentration during the inspection testing. Early this week, Kim Jong-un, remember, also witnessed the tests of new suicide drones that took off and destroyed mock tank targets. Kim Jong-un had also instructed the researchers involved in the development of drones to integrate artificial intelligence into the unmanned vehicles. South Korea and the US have accused North Korea of supplying Russia with artillery shells, missiles, and other military equipment. South Korea officials, in fact, claim North Korea has supplied more than 12,000 containers of various types of shells, while it also separately shipped dozens of short-range missiles. Both Pyongyang and Moscow have denied these accusations. North Korea has carried out multiple weapon tests, including drones, cruise and hypersonic missiles this year. Experts believe North Korea is able to produce weapons at a fast pace while keeping costs low due to free labor and its sourcing of materials from China and Russia. There is a raging debate brewing. Australia just passed a right to disconnect law. This rule basically offers employees to avoid taking calls after working hours without worrying about any consequences. However, a Bloomberg exclusive puts the focus on Nvidia's millionaire employees who face grueling and high-stress work hours. Take a look at this next report for more.
Since the beginning of 2019, Nvidia stock has surged 3,776%. Reason? The business reaps the rewards of selling the central chip needed for artificial intelligence development. This has created a slew of new multimillionaires. However, according to Nvidia's current and past employees, the work hours are equally demanding and stressful. This means there isn't much time for the luxurious vacations, new homes, and leisure activities that many can now afford. A Bloomberg report quoting 10 current and former employees shows a cultural issue starting to develop at Nvidia. No other firm in history has accumulated market worth at the rate of the 31-year-old chip maker. Employees have spoken out about the chaotic management system and the standards of sloppiness and overwork set by founder and CEO Jensen Huang. An ex-employee said that he was required to work non-stop, sometimes until 1 or 2 in the morning. According to him, a lot of his co-workers, particularly those in engineering, put in extra hours regularly. He stated the situation was like being in a pressure cooker. However, he did say that the compensation package made it difficult to quit. According to Bloomberg, he quit in May but wished to remain anonymous. Another former employee said that she frequently attended 7 to 10 meetings daily, including incidents of fighting and yelling frequently. The golden handcuffs, the chance for even more riches, were the reason she endured it for 2 years. However, Nvidia has not had any difficulty in staffing. The reason? Nvidia gives stock grants to its employees, which becomes accessible over a 4-year period. This provides them motivation to remain and receive their whole pay package. After reaching a valuation of over $1 trillion in 2023, the company's turnover rate decreased by nearly half to 2.7% from 5.3% in 2023. Compared to Nvidia, the overall turnover rate in the semiconductor business is 17.7%. With the stock price skyrocketing, many Nvidia employees now have larger nest eggs than their colleagues at rival chip makers. The real question is the money worth it? Especially in a world where employees are looking at life over money. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
I have a question for you, especially for those watching us from India tonight. Do women at your workplace work lesser as compared to men? I'm guessing your answer is no. Then tell me one thing. What really explains this latest report by an Indian recruitment and human resource company named Team Lease? It says women in the tech sector, in the Indian tech sector, earn 22 to 30% less than their male colleagues. Let me just repeat that for you. Women in India's tech sector earn 22 to 30% less than their male colleagues. There's just one question we should all be asking. Why? What explains this pay gap? Because when it comes to individual responsibilities, I guess they are distributed equally, irrespective of gender. A project leader, irrespective of their gender, has similar responsibilities, similar timelines. Both need to ensure the client is served, that commitments are delivered. If the project flops, there is as much at stake for a male project leader as there is for his female counterpart. Then what explains the gap in their salary? Surveys show the pay gap is the widest in roles like project manager, data scientist, full stack engineer, data engineer, and development ops. And you know what's even more disturbing here? The pay gap starts at the very beginning, even before a woman enters the workforce. As per the survey, a female fresher earns nearly 15.38% less than her male colleague. If the male fresher earns 7.5 lakhs an annum, the female fresher gets 6.5 lakhs an annum. What explains this? If two people are being hired for the same role, at the same level, and with the same designation, then clearly there is no difference in their merit. Then why discriminate in their compensation? Don't you think a lot of this has to do with stereotypes and biases? While women are entering the work sector in record numbers, many people sitting in positions of power in glass cabins continue to believe that most women don't need to pay bills, they don't have liabilities, or that they can do with a lighter paycheck, as women supposedly, according to them, are not providing for their family. This mentality is passé, but sadly, it continues to exist. And much like this bias, much like this thinking, the gender pay gap also extends beyond the tech sector. It's spread across different sectors. Surveys show as women climb up the ladder, the gap widens. In tech, for example, if a man with, say, a 7-year work experience earns around 25 lakhs per annum, his female colleague with the same experience earns 22 lakhs. That's a pay gap of 13.64%. Surveys have also found that women lack mentorship. They get fewer promotion opportunities. What do you think this does to a woman employee? This basically reduces her job satisfaction in a way, making her feel insecure perhaps about her finances, her job. And mind you, this is not an India problem. This discrimination is universal. The Global Gender Gap Report 2024 by the World Economic Forum found that no country, and I repeat, no country, has been able to achieve full gender parity. And since we started by talking about tech, let me also tell you here that tech giant Apple was recently sued by 2 female employees. They filed a lawsuit accusing Apple of systematic gender-based pay discrimination. The suit was filed in California. It says even when women and men do the same work, women lose out on pay. We now shift our focus to a story that could reshape our understanding of humanity. Reports say that the Y chromosome, which is a crucial determinant of the male sex, is shrinking at an alarming rate. What does that even mean, and how did this happen? And does this mean that men are on the brink of extinction? Let's just break this down for you. For those unfamiliar, the Y chromosome is perhaps the most essential part of male biology. It carries the SRY gene that helps in the development of male characteristics, including the production of male hormones. Exclusive to males, this genetic marker is passed from father to son. That helps in tracing parental lineage across generations and studying human ancestry. It also plays a key role in male fertility. According to studies, over the last 166 million years, the Y chromosome has been gradually losing its genetic material. In the beginning, it had 900 genes, which has now come down to just 55. The reduction is basically attributed to the Y chromosome's inability to undergo genetic mixing. And reports say that if this trend continues unchecked, the Y chromosome could completely disappear. But do not worry, this will not happen in your lifetime, not even in the next century, but around 11 million years later. But then, does that mean men will go extinct? Not quite. Before jumping to any conclusions, let's tell you that 2 rodent species may just offer a glimmer of hope or some clarity here. As per studies, the mole wolves of Eastern Europe and the spiny rats of Japan have already lost their Y chromosomes, but they continue to thrive. In these rodents, genes found new homes in other chromosomes, ensuring the survival of the male offspring, indicating that such a possibility of evolvement could also occur in humans, even if the Y chromosome depletes. But that does not mean everything is positive just yet. Rather, the depletion of Y chromosomes is still a matter of concern. Without an alternative to the Y chromosome, the very survival of men and by extension, the human species could be at risk. But don't worry for now, because humans have 11 million years to figure out the complexities of genetics and evolution and find a solution and figure out the implications of this. The world's first hydrogen-powered UAV took its maiden flight in China's Zhejiang province. The drone, developed by Tian Moshan, has a range of 100 kilometers. Our next report telling you more. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Know more? Understand better? Think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. seeing is believing.
Namaste. Hello, friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Edition of the Venice Film Festival kicks off, we tell you everything about the movies in competition this year. Find out why luxury brands are hiring Indian A-listers as their ambassadors. And know some lesser-known facts about Stree 2-star Rajkumar Rao. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
Famine hit Sudan as peace talks fall short yet again. US broker truce talks collapse after mediators failed to convince the military to come to the negotiation table. South Africa is committed to strengthening bilateral trade and investment with India, says its trade minister, amid launch of the India-South Africa Chamber of Commerce. And one of the success stories of world cricket, Namibia, a country with a population of just 2.6 million with limited facilities and only 9 cricket grounds. That's this week on World of Africa at these times on WION.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 PM IST, 1 PM GMT.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.